You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the African Father in America podcast. This is episode 275. We are live streaming on YouTube and we are also live on Clubhouse. I have a really special guest today. For those who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Simon Javan Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and I want to bring my guest on. My guest is Rob Oliver, who is a keynote speaker. And Rob, how are you doing today?
Simon, I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. I'm so happy that you made the time to join me today. And I also just quickly want to give a shout out to Kuchi and Brother Earth who are joining us on Clubhouse. I encourage you to take a moment and ping in a few other friends and family to join us for today's conversation. To those who are with us on YouTube, thank you so much. I deeply appreciate you for taking the time to join us today for this amazing conversation. In a moment, I'm just going to share what the proverb for today is. But for now, I want to share what the structure of today's show is going to look like. First, we are going to look at what the proverb is. You know, every day we gather here in order for us to learn, gain African wisdom, but also bring stories and bring special guests like Rob so that we can also learn from them and hear their perspectives on these beautiful African proverbs. So after we learn about today's proverb, we are going to learn about Rob's story. I normally like to ask my guests to share with us a childhood story, whether it was 8 or 12 years old. What is it that happened earlier on in your life that inspires who you are as a leader today? So Rob, think about that, because that's going to be a question for you. But then we are also going to talk about the work that you do as a keynote speaker. You know, what is it that you're currently working on that excites you, that you want our audience members to leave our conversation excited about? And also at the very end, I'm going to ask you how we can support the work that you do. So with all those few remarks, I want you all to know that today we are taking a virtual journey to Togo. You know, Togo is one of the smallest countries in Africa. It's on the West African coast. And the proverb today says that better the child weeps than the wife. Better the child weeps than the wife. And I want to share the 3 nuggets of wisdom in relation to this proverb. I deeply appreciate my team for preparing these nuggets for us today. The first nugget says that always put your family first. And then the second one says, don't take your loved ones for granted. And then finally, cherish the time you have with them. You know, when I looked at this proverb, I automatically knew that, you know, when my kids cry, you know, which they do all the time. I have 3 kids, and you know, it's almost normal because it's something that happens often. But when their mother cries, something is wrong, and a lot of the time I first think of what did I do, you know. Even if she was walking down the stairs and she falls down, I first of all think of what is it that I did that made her fall down, you know. So this proverb is a great reminder for me personally, as someone who has been with my wife and kids for many years, and also as someone who grew up in an environment where, you know, my mother took care of so many children, including orphans, and you know, sometime we would be in a situation where my mother was weeping and we would wonder what's going on today. You know, the house would get smaller when my mother cried. So this proverb is so powerful. But I want to bring on my guest today. Rob, I know that you're not African, but I know that you love words of the wise. And I want you to take a stab at this proverb. When you hear better the child weeps than the wife, what is it that comes to your mind?
Well, I think about the reason why children weep and the reason why my wife would weep. Children cry because they're uncomfortable. Children cry because there are so many reasons why children cry, but when it comes to why would a grown woman cry, it generally has to do with great sadness or great pain that has occurred in her life. And sometimes that great pain comes from your children, who are, something sad is happening in their lives, or something, they've done something that is causing sadness. And so it is better for children to learn from an uncomfortable situation, or better for children to go through something that may cause them discomfort, and they need to learn how to handle difficult situations, um, as opposed to when your wife cries, it's because there is a large problem that's going on. And so, for me anyway, the wisdom there is looking at the reason for what's going on. And also this, I've got 3 kids myself, and sometimes the learning experience that they go through is something that they don't necessarily enjoy. It's the difference between eating what you would like to eat and eating what's good for you. You know, my kids, when they were little, they cry. They want a cupcake. They don't want a sandwich. But there is an understanding that sometimes learning is uncomfortable, but the learning experience is something that they will look back on and value.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love also how you said that there's a bigger problem when you hear a grown woman, especially your wife. This proverb says, "Better the child weeps than the wife." That's the person that fully understands the entire household. So I deeply appreciate your perspectives. I see that we've been joined by a number of our friends who support this show, like Brother Rushi and Mike. I see Lakeli and Bliss, and also Lavender, who is part of my team, has joined us for the show today. I just want to give you guys a lot of, appreciation for taking your time. I'm here with our special guest, Rob Oliver, who is a keynote speaker. And we're just about to learn, Rob, your childhood story. I love sharing this story that my mother gave me a bicycle when I was about 8 years old. And my job at that time was to distribute milk and bread in our neighborhood. So every day in the morning, sometime at 2 a.m. in the morning, sometime at 6 a.m., sometime at, during the weekends, I would be distributing milk and bread until even 10 a.m. in the morning. And all of this work taught me resilience. It taught me the discipline to be here like I am now with you at 6 a.m. in the morning on a Monday morning. And I want you to share with us your own childhood story that inspires the leader that you've become, the parent that you've become, and the keynote speaker that you are today.
Sure. So when I was a kid, I was a bit of a nerd and didn't really feel like I fit into a lot of places. And my story is not necessarily a singular instance, but it is the character and nature of my parents and how they lived. They lived by a set of principles that did not change no matter where they were. So my dad was a pastor at a church, and his behavior in church was the same as his behavior at home, was the same as his behavior in the community, and the principles that guided him didn't change. And there are some people, and depending on where they are and depending on who they're with, the way that they act changes. And what I came to understand is, if you have an understanding of right and wrong, if you have an understanding of principles that you live your life by, those don't change regardless of your circumstances. And I'll tell you how that really applies in my life. When I was 21 years old, I acquired a disability. I was body surfing on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I ended up hitting my head on the bottom, and I broke my neck. So I'm now paralyzed from the chest down with limited use of my arms and hands. But the understanding that I had gathered from my parents or the principles of life don't change just because you happen to be in a wheelchair or just because you don't walk. The principles of life are the same no matter what your circumstances are. So that's kind of, it's not a singular story, but it's a theme that goes throughout my entire childhood that has helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. I can't imagine how such an event quickly changes your entire life. You don't know. You went surfing to have fun, and then you leave. The ocean or the beach, a completely transformed person. And I can't imagine. How that happened just like that, right?
Yeah. And let me just tweak what you said a little bit. Okay. Um, and that is, what I have found is I'm physically transformed. Okay. My physical body and the way that I engage the world has changed as a result of my disability. But the essence of who I am has not changed. I am still Rob, and no physical disability can change that. I still have the same lousy sense of humor that I've always had. I have the same personality, the same character, the same heart. Those are all the same. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend at the time was on the beach and saw what happened. And she was the very first person that I talked to. And I said to her, listen, I don't know what the future holds. It looks like it holds a lot of limitations. And I said, I don't know what you're feeling towards me. If you're just feeling sorry for me, that's not what I'm looking for in a long-term relationship. And I said, lastly, I don't know what kind of pressure you're under from other people, but this is not about them. This is about you and me. And really, it's about you. I give you license, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Feel free to do that. And she got really mad at me and said, listen, what I love about you has nothing to do with whether or not you can walk. It has to do with who you are on the inside. And if you think you can get rid of me that easy, you've got another thing coming. So needless to say, I married her because when you get somebody that sees you for who you are on the inside, don't let them get away. But she taught me literally from the very beginning that the essence of this is a kind of weird way to say this, but the essence of my Robness is not defined by my ability to run or throw a ball. It's defined my ability to connect with people and to build relationships and to be myself. And so that is the principle on which I really built my understanding of living with a disability.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. That's inspiring, and very, very courageous that, she, first of all, she was the first person you interacted with. And this also speaks to love. Love is so powerful, and I just appreciate you sharing this with us. A lot of people, when they hear a keynote speaker, they think so many things. They think TED Talk. They think, they think you've gone through there are so many speaker associations and organizations that you have to be a part of in order for you to be a recognized speaker or keynote speaker. But here you are, despite all these challenges, you're now a recognized keynote speaker. I want you to share with us some of the highlights of your career as a keynote speaker, but also speak about what is it that is exciting for you right now.
Sure. So to me, one of the essential things I talk about is what I call the human condition. And by that, I mean, it's the fact that everybody has problems, everybody has limitations, everybody faces obstacles, okay? The question is, where do we focus? If we focus on the limitations, if we focus on the obstacles, if we allow what other people to think about us to define our own self-image, we're not going to be able to achieve success. And even our self-concept is going to suffer as a result of that. It's about focusing on your abilities. It's about focusing on what you can do that really gives you the strength to make a positive impact in the world around you. So, I mean, there have been a number of highlights for me. One of those, I got to speak for Habitat for Humanity. I've spoken for the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. I've spoken at a number of universities. It's been really an amazing thing. I've been able to travel internationally to share that message. And then I've been able to, I talk about resilience, talk about dealing with adversity, which has really been powerful when it comes to COVID. Okay. None of us had the ability to change what was going on during COVID. It was something that happened to us. We didn't sign up for it, but the resilience that has happened there, the learning that has happened has been extremely powerful, and it's been an opportunity for growth. And that's really, I think, that the essence of what I want people to understand. Everything that you go through is an opportunity for you to learn and grow. And you can either shrink or grow based on how you look at what has happened to you. And that to me is how we make the world a better place, how we make ourselves better people, regardless of what circumstances we're going through.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. The circumstances don't matter, but who we are is what is most important. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Rob. If you're just joining us on YouTube, I want you to make sure you take a minute and give this video a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's one of the ways that you can support this amazing show. We've been doing this show for over 2 years now, and we have collected so many African proverbs, hosted so many incredible guests, but really you, our viewers and listeners, are the ones that make the African Father in America podcast possible. We are a 5-star rated podcast on Apple. We have over almost 200,000 downloads on Apple Podcasts. So all of this is really not possible without you all engaging, commenting, liking, and sharing the content that we are putting out on all your social media platforms, really. So we deeply appreciate it. Rob, I'm going to ask you to, if you have a pen and paper, take a few notes. I want to bring on a few of our guests who are on Clubhouse to just say a few things about this proverb, and also comment on the incredible stories that you've shared with us. And then I want you to maybe reflect on what they say, and then close the show for us by letting us know how we can support you and also how we can stay connected with you. So I want to quickly start with Lavender, who is an incredible leader on the One Vibe team. Lavender, how are you? If you have a moment, please say hello and share with us your thoughts on the proverb, and also any comment to our guest today.
Hi Simon. Hi everyone. Is Lavender. Rob, it's amazing for you to grace our uh, room today. I appreciate the wisdom you've shared thus far. My thoughts about today's proverb: better the child which than the wife. Um, there's a common saying that goes like happy wife, happy life. Um, I usually feel like, and this goes to both parents, most parents usually focus on the happiness of the children and forgetting their own happiness. Um, and there's this speaker who was talking about uh, parents or a mother focusing on her own happiness, and automatically a child is happy because the parent is happy. Children usually feel the energy of the person taking care of them or the parent, and they emulate that. We find that mostly when women are pregnant, they're advised to be in a conducive environment, um, and they're asked to be keen on the emotions because kids tend to take up what the mother feels. This is Lavender, and I'm done speaking. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you, Lavender. I appreciate your words of wisdom. I want to quickly move on to Brother Earth. Brother Earth, briefly share where you are and also what today's proverb means to you. If you have any comment to our special guest, please go ahead and share as well.
Peace and love, family. This is Brother Earth. I'm coming from the North Carolina territory. And honor to you and all the family coming forth with the wisdom of the ancestors. And as far as the speaker, man, I just felt that that was very powerful. That through the challenges and adversity, uh, his character and his integrity remained intact because that's what was instilled in him from his parents. And as parents, it's so important that we are like sculptors to our children, and it's very important that we are able to mold on our children or be molded upon as children. But that's what I say to what he was saying. And as far as the proverb, I think Lavender took some of what I was saying about them old players back in the day. They used to say stuff like, happy life, happy wife, and if mama not happy, nobody in the house ain't happy. The food ain't on point. Certain things ain't gonna be taken care of how it should be if mama not happy. So it's so important to make sure the mother's happy because she is the backbone to the home or the family unit. And that's the first thing I say about the proverb. And the second thing, when I look at the proverb, it made me think about. It was a while back I had seen something on Instagram, and this lady had asked her her fiance. Let's say just say her fiance. He's like, she was like, who's more important to you, me, your mother, or our daughters? She asking the man this, and I was like, oh, that she didn't try to jam him up. That's what I'm thinking. He said, that's a good question, baby. He said, but that's easy. He said, you are my most important. You are more important to me than those others. He said, because when I was a boy, I lived with my mother. When I got with you, I left my mother to be with you. And he say the girls are with us now, but when the girls grow up, they gonna leave home, and I'ma still have to be with you. So it's very important that me and you maintain a strong, healthy bond and relationship because me and you, we could be here together the longest. So with that right there being said, that's why it's important to take care of mama because you know what I mean. Happy life, happy wife. Peace and love, families, brother Earth.
Thank you, Brother. That's so deep and so profound. I appreciate that. Brother Rushi, I would love to hear your voice too. Let us know where you're joining us from and your perspectives on the proverb and comments on our guest.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am calling from home. I am in Charleston, South Carolina today. I think Rob, the speaker Rob, I really appreciate hearing his voice today. What he said to me really made me think of a lot of things. I deeply appreciate you, Simon, and the guests. The the proverb better the child weeps than the wife. It actually after listening to Rob and thinking about it, it actually made me take a different turn as far as what I actually feel about this proverb. This proverb it reminds me of the old saying in the South or everywhere. It's a saying that we all heard growing up: "Spare the rod, spoil the child," which is a term that it's really a biblical term that came from the Bible. But growing up, our parents really utilized that saying to beat us. It's a saying, that's what you heard when you got a beating for doing something bad. But if you really think about the origin of that saying, which is a biblical saying, I believe in the Bible it said something like, "He who spares the rod hates his son or hates his child." Um, but it's a saying that says something like that. And if you think about that saying, the rod in the Bible, really signifies it's a term from the sheep herder. The sheep herder is the one who carried the rod to make sure the sheep stayed in line. And the sheep herder, they never beat the sheep. They guided the sheep to where they needed the sheep to go so the sheep can be safe. So I think of that very deeply because uh, in this world, we have a lot of motherless children in this world today. And when I say motherless children, that could be from the term of their mother is not here as she's passed on, or we have a lot of children whose mothers just aren't around for whatever reasons. And I think of those children, and I think of sometimes the hard times that they have, and I think that also will cause mothers to weep because we have a lot of children here that are being raised by grandmothers, fathers, other family members. So I think of those children that weep because they're missing the guidance of a strong mother in their life, which is, we all know that the mother is a woman is God. She is the backbone of the community, backbone of all of our families. So without the woman, there is no life. So I really think about that, and I really think, we need to really make sure that we take care of the women that we have in our lives, whether that's mothers, sisters, friends, aunts, cousins, whatever form that is. We need to make sure that the women that we have, they are healthy mentally and physically and spiritually, and make sure that, if we see something that's not right, that we as men or as women help each other out in that regard. So the speaker's story about his integrity and his character, which he got from his parents, is very, very, very inspiring, and it really made me. It definitely is in line with this proverb. So I really thank you, Simon and Rob, for the words today. I can definitely this should definitely be on my mind all day today. So appreciate that.
Thank you, Brother Rushi. I appreciate you for your continued support and for your contribution today. I want to go ahead and invite Jay. Before I do that, I want to welcome everyone who is just joining us. I see you, Afi and Austin, of course, Leah. I know that everyone is not going to have a chance to contribute today, but your presence is deeply, deeply appreciated. I also see Kape. Thank you for being here. And also I see I am the one and only one who is here, but also on YouTube I see so many of you over there, but I can't recognize each of you. I just want you to know that I waved and I see you. But we have a special guest here, Rob Oliver, who is a keynote speaker who inspired us with really some of the the stories of his life, what he has gone through and what he's doing now, despite all the challenges that he has gone through. So I just want you to take a minute and make sure you're following the African Father in America Club. Make sure you tap in with us so that you don't miss any of our conversations. And also, if you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up. And now I want to bring you on, Jay. How are you? How was your weekend? What are your thoughts on this conversation that we are having today?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Simon. It's always good when I can make it into this room. It's been a busy weekend. I'm ready to start my work week, the positive attitude. And I just want to say the first thing that I will listen to the replays because I love stories. The stories can be inspiring, they can be uplifting, they can be motivating. So I will definitely listen to the replay so I can hear your special guests. The first thing that came to mind to me was it's a problem when the wife is crying, when the wife is upset, when the wife is angry or hurt. It's a huge problem. And the wife can hold some grudges, and there can be some serious difficulties in the home. Children will cry about just about everything. If they can't have what they want, they will cry. If they can't go where they want to go, they will cry. If they can't do what they want to do, they will cry. And so that's kind of how I looked at it. And then children have a tendency to get over things pretty quickly, depending upon the situation and the circumstances. Of course, that can vary. Absolutely, it can vary. But they're resilient in that way. But if you're talking about your wife and is crying, is serious. It's a serious situation, and whatever happened, whatever caused it, whatever is contributing to it, there needs to be a way to fix it. So and resolve it. I just want to say this is Domestic Violence Month, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But at the end of the day, children are resilient. They have a tendency to cry over a lot of small things, but they have a tendency to also forgive quicker and to bounce back faster. This is Jay, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. We have one more speaker before we get back to you, Rob, so that you can just reflect on everything you had and then close our show by letting us know how we can support you and how we can also stay connected with you. Stella, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from today? And what are your thoughts on this time that we're having with Rob today?
Hello, Simon. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. So today's proverb has just reminded me of how recently over here in Kenya, I'm speaking from Kenya, there's been a lot of people killing each other in the family unit. And the latest one, I think, is the saddest, where someone was killed in a I feel it's mysterious, though there's a story out there of how it was a love triangle and all that, but it's kind of mysterious to me. And it's just showing us how the family unit is kind of being destroyed nowadays. And the family unit is losing its meaning, and it's leaving everyone involved, especially the children, vulnerable, I'd say. And again, when I looked at this proverb, it just reminded me of how, especially when children are involved, the children look at the parents as their everything. Like they look up to them for answers to their so many questions. They look up to them for examples, how to live this life. And when it talks about the wife crying and all that, then it means that the family unit is not working, especially when the wife cries. So it kind of left me sad, but I'm happy that we are here and talking about it. And thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella, and thank you to all our contributors today. We are going to go on to my special guest who is with me on YouTube. So if you want to connect with me and see the guest directly, you can tap the link at the top of the room, and remember to subscribe to the channel while at it. Rob, what is it that you heard from our guests that moved you that you want to share, and then go ahead and share with us how we can stay connected with you and how we can support the work that you do.
Sure. I want to thank all of your guests for sharing their thoughts. There's so much there. I'll try and move through it as quickly as possible. Stella, when you brought up the concept of violence within the family, where the whole family weeps together for what is going on in the dysfunctional relationships, that is so powerful, and something that really needs to be thought about is the relationships within the family, and for all to be spared from weeping if that's at all possible. I was additionally thinking, Jay, you brought up a great point about how children do go through difficult times, but they bounce back quickly. If a wife is crying, if a grown woman is crying, many times it's because there is a longer, larger, lingering problem of what happens. Brother Yushi, there was a couple things. Number one, you were talking about motherless children. I also am concerned about fatherless children, that children need the example of an adult in their life. And I really think that, and this goes back to what Brother Art said about molding our children, the way that we live our lives is a far greater impact on our children than the words that we say. If the words that we say contradict the way that we act, the children are going to learn from what we do more than what we say. And Brother Yushi also brought up the biblical concept of spare the rod and spoil the child. And what I would bring up another Bible concept. It says, train up a child in the way that they would go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And I really would tie that into what Lavender said, because when a child cries, it's because they are unhappy now. It is much more likely that when a wife cries, it's because of problems that are occurring in a child's life later in life, right? A woman, a mother may be far more upset by the decisions that her grown children are making than the decisions that our younger children are making. And lastly, there were many people that reference the concept of happy wife, happy life. And I'll just tweak that a little bit to say this: just because your wife is happy doesn't guarantee that you will be happy. So, and this goes back, I think, I'm not sure who it was that said it, but if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? Which is unhappy wife, unhappy life. If your wife is not happy, that's a pretty solid guarantee that you're not going to be real happy either. So that's kind of my reaction to what your guests have said, and I really appreciate them sharing.
That's beautiful. I love that. Now, share with us how we can support your work and how we can stay connected with you.
Sure. So you can find me at yourkeynotespeaker.com, and I am happy to love to speak anywhere and love to share my thoughts with your group if that's something that you're interested in. I also have a couple podcasts that are out there. One deals with entrepreneurship, and the other talks about quality healthcare. You will find links to both of those at yourkeynotespeaker.com. And I am also on social media. You can find me at Your Keynoter on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm out there. So happy to connect with everybody.
Man, thank you again, Rob. This has been a really, really beautiful way to start a new week, and I want to thank you, Lavender, for really, making this possible, and Stella, also thank you for making this possible. Stella and Lavender are part of the One Vibe Media team, and because of the hard work they're putting in, we're able to get amazing guests like Rob, and also to our community members who are listening and watching from across the world. I also thank you for your continued support. If you want to stay connected with me, the best way to do that is through my Instagram at Okelo Javan. Send me a DM if you want to be a guest, or reach out to Lavender or Stella directly. And also, if you want to engage with the Proverbs before we do the show every day, about 3 hours before the show, we publish it on my Instagram platform. So I just want you all to know that you are amazing, you're deeply appreciated, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for another episode of the African Father in America podcast. Rob, is there something I didn't ask you that you want to speak to briefly before we close?
Absolutely. So this is the African Fathers in America podcast, and I want to talk to fathers directly right now for just real short. After I was married for a couple years, my wife and I were talking about having kids. And as a person with a disability, I was very concerned about what kind of dad I was going to be. I can't throw a football. I can't build a treehouse. And I thought, I'm not going to be a good dad. And my wife said to me, what is it that a dad really does? A dad teaches his kids right and wrong. A dad loves his kids no matter what they've done. And a dad is there for his kids when they need him. I said, all right, those are things that I can do. And we went through in vitro, and I ended up having triplets who are 20 years old. That's a story all to its own. But what I want to encourage dads with is this. Here's what it really means to be a dad. Make sure your kids know that you love them no matter what. Help your kids understand what is right and what is wrong. And when your kids need you, you've got to be there for them. That's what it truly means to be a father. And if we do that, our kids are going to come out. They're going to come out well. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. Those were really, really wonderful parting shots that you gave us there. Have a beautiful day, Rob, and everybody who is listening and watching. I hope you took something from today's conversation. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you again, Rob. I really, really enjoyed our time together today. Take great care of yourself.
Thanks, Simon.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington.